Hey guys! So in this video we are going to talk about how to stand out in a job interview. So let's get into it. Now this is of course highly subjective, and you can take it or leave it here. All I can say is that I've conducted a few job interviews for different level of experience, and I also know from my own personal experience what usually stands out in a job interview, and this is fairly universal. Every company is a little bit different, but there are a few common denominators that you can bring with you into a job interview. So let's start out by talking about how a junior stands out in a job interview. So the first thing that you need to consider as a junior developer is that you are inexperienced. Don't ever try to play the experience card as a junior, because it's not going to work unless you are some type of super genius programmer who you're not going to fool anybody. No one in an established company who has experienced developers is going to be tricked into believing that you are more experienced than you are. It's going to show very quickly. And as a junior, you have to kind of just embrace that you are a beginner, and it's okay, because everybody starts out somewhere. And trust me, a company does not hire a junior developer because they think that you are going to be a master programmer. They are hiring you because you're cheap. You don't think that that's the reason, but it's actually the reason. The idea, don't let anybody fool you into believing that the only thing that companies care about are experienced, seasoned veterans, because trust me, these people are rare and they are very expensive. That's why a junior is actually a talented junior that can produce. Think of it as any type, like an engine that powers a system. A really strong super engine is going to be a lot of benefit to the system, such as a senior programmer. A really powerful engine is really great, but the problem with a really powerful engine is that it's really costly and very tricky to get your hands on such a thing. So what you're looking for, if you could in theory have a series of smaller engines that are a little bit weaker, but are still, they actually produce more value or more energy to the system, more power to the system than they cost in maintenance. It's actually very beneficial to have that. It's actually exactly the reason why you have this idea of containers and all of that stuff. It used to be the case that you bought these super strong mega computers, but you realized that, or rather we realized that over time we came to a point where computers were actually very inexpensive, so it was really much more expensive to get these supercomputers, and it was better to get an army of small computers that you simply managed as a big ecosystem of computers. And the idea of having a junior is very similar. You are not getting a junior because you're looking for super massive amounts of productive power. You're looking for something that is going to be a good cost-benefit ratio, in other words, cost-value ratio, or whatever you want to call it. So basically, as a junior, all you really have to focus on is to sell the idea that you are a good investment, that you are going to very quickly return on the investment that the company is making into you. So how do you do that? It's actually very simple. You have to communicate that you are passionate about what you do, that you care about what you do, because trust me, everything starts with you caring about what you do. No one wants to hire someone who doesn't give a fuck. If you come in there and you don't care about your profession, odds are that they are going to look for a more appropriate candidate. You don't have to love programming more than anything in the world, but as a junior, it helps a lot if you care, and that you can tell that you care. But that's another video, how to communicate that. The second thing you can do, which is very good, it's very beneficial for the juniors out there who are getting into JavaScript and Node, is that you can come with specialist knowledge. You should know that most companies do not have anyone on staff that is truly good at JavaScript. most companies struggle with a really messy, bad JavaScript code base. So if you can come in and say, and basically tell the company that, yeah, well, I'm actually very good at, say, Webpack, I'm very good at Node.js and all these different JavaScript-oriented things, that's going to stand out, because most, as I said, most seniors who have been around for a while, they don't have that, not at all. So that's a big leg up for you, that you can actually be knowledgeable in something that, although you don't have many years in the profession, you know things that most of the experienced programmers don't actually have a good understanding of. That's I would say those are the two main things you can do. So for a mid-level programmer to stand out, it becomes less about, it's still about your passion to a point, but it also becomes a little bit more about what you actually have on paper. If you have, because a mid-level programmer is a little bit more expensive, so it becomes more important for you to have relevant knowledge. Again, you kind of have to, at least from my experience, you have to convince the company that you are an intelligent person that is going to bring a lot of business value to the company. Basically, what I'm saying is that if you have spent most of your career working in a very one-dimensional type of way, you're working in a very specific manner, and you're, how do I put it? If you can't convince the company that you are flexible, that you have an interest in your profession, and that you have relevant work experience, you are going to get dismissed. Because unless the company is working let's say that you're a Java person and you spent your entire career in Java, then yes, if you go to a Java shop and you're really good at Java, no worries. But if you have done the same thing and you try to go to a startup or or anything that is not highly specialized in Java, unless then that single dimension work experience is, although it's going to be relevant, you have to weigh up the fact that you don't have this diversity with having, how do I put it, to sell the idea that you are still a person that can learn new things, that you are interested in things, that you have a business mindset. Because if you've been sitting in your own cubicle for several years and never had to talk to anybody, you're not going to make it, because that's not the way that most companies work. These days, it's actually very, very common that the developers are highly involved in most part of the business. It's not that like it used to be, where you could just sit there and be a code monkey and just tap away at your computer and you had a perfect specification that just said what you were going to do, and then you clock in 9 to 5. That's not how it works, not anymore. Today, you have to have a much broader range of skills. So if you're niching yourself, you have to maintain that healthy curiosity for not only the code that you are writing, but the IT business as a whole. That's how you stand out as a mid-level programmer. You have to have relevant work experience and prove that you are the sort of person that the company can trust as an individual, that you will take charge, or that you not necessarily take charge, but that you will be the sort of person that will adapt to any situation and changes in the business requirements. Because you don't have the luxury anymore of just caring about your code. Lastly, seniors who wants to stand out. A senior developer is usually the sort of person, now let's define a senior first and foremost. It's somebody who's been in the business for years and years and years. These are your at least middle-aged type of people who've been working for, say, the bare minimum 5 years. 5, 10, 15 years plus. That's a senior developer per my definition. And these sort of people, if you're working on 10 plus years in the workforce, odds are that you are massively experienced in more than one language for the most part, and that you have probably been around for long enough that you can make business decisions and you can lead and all of this sort of stuff. And from my experience, what usually happens with a senior is that they go down one of two paths. I have met a lot of seniors who go down the specialist route. These are people who are extremely skilled within their technical field. They are the sort of people that you can throw them at any problem. They will solve it, no worries. But they lack the social graces. They completely, for the most part, they lack, like, they have immense knowledge and experience, but they can't lead, and they don't have the ability to socialize effectively or grow a company's knowledge base or educate juniors. They are simply very good at what they do, and they work mostly like an island. That's one type of senior. And the other type of senior is the absolutely reverse. These are the people who usually go into management, the people who kind of at some point trade in their keyboard for for PowerPoint presentations. These are the sort of people who, as I said, they are managers. Now, the issue with these people is that they get out of touch with the actual IT world. They become just they become another manager, and they lose their technical skills. So from my experience, the thing that stands out with the senior, that most companies, I think, these are the sort of, because let's remember, guys, a senior is a really expensive investment. Most companies can't afford more than 1 or 2 seniors, because they are expensive, and with right, they should be expensive, because they're most likely going to bring you more value. They are the sort of people, you don't hire a senior to just write code. You hire them to lead and be a part of your entire company. These are really big investments for the most part. So for a senior to stand out, at least from my experience, I think the best thing that they can do, apart from selling the idea that they can lead and that they have relevant knowledge, is that they prove that the years that they have spent in the field hasn't crushed their enthusiasm for their job. Because as I said, with both of these two cases, like where you have the specialist or you have the manager, when you spend enough years in IT, at some point you're going to get complacent. And you're going to lose that fire that you started out with when you were a more junior profile, because that's usually how it goes. The longer you stay in the field, the more comfortable you get. And a senior who still has the passion to look into new things and to investigate, to be involved in the IT community, and still has that experience, like, these people are so rare and they stand out so much. I would give you my favorite example of such a senior is he works at Ticketmaster. His name is Oliver Turner. I've never met anybody like that. He's exactly what I'm describing. He has the engineering skills and the leadership that is required for a senior to be truly outstanding. And if you can have that, that's something that stands out a lot. Because as I said, most seniors feel you feel the experience, but you don't feel the fire. If you talk to a passionate junior, that's a very different experience from talking to a senior. Usually that's the way I look at it. And apart from being enthusiastic and still caring about your profession after all those years as a senior, I would say that standing out, well, if you can do that, that's almost the entire battle right there. Apart from that, I would say that a senior can stand out by having, how do I put it? Having the ability to grow other people. Because you see, there's a big difference. I see this in the manager type of person, and it's the same. It's even worse with the technical expert. They're not teachers. They can't. Or rather, as I call them, they're not kingmakers. They cannot. If you get a senior, ideally what you want is for that investment to not only be good for the company at the business level, you want it to be good for all the other programmers that work there. You want the sort of person who can to take all their vast experience and relay it to all the juniors. ideally what you want is to have a senior that is so good at teaching that when you put them in the company, the entire experience level and knowledge base rises with them. That's what you want. So these are the ways that I would say you can stand out in a job interview. Have a great day.